Hi, Leah Barniville. Thank you so much for joining me on the Mary-Jess Meets podcast.
Thank you so much for having me on.
I'm so grateful that you could come onto the podcast because I've wanted to talk to you for quite a while. It just seems like at such a young age you are achieving so many of your dreams, and we've both got a background in singing TV shows, so it's always fun to talk to other people who've had that experience and compare notes as to what it was like. But you were in Britain's Got Talent.
I was, yes.
And what year was that?
Back in 2017. I was 14 at the time.
So young.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you were really young at the time? Did it ever feel like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Surely it'd be better if I was older to cope with this? Or did you just feel like, yeah, come on, I'm ready?
Yeah, I was never really intimidated by the idea of being on TV or anything. I really, really enjoyed the whole thing from the minute I walked into the backstage area to wait there for 11 hours before I did my audition, to when I left the stage at the semi-finals. I just loved every single second of it. And you know, when you're a teenager, a young teenager, you think, oh, I can do anything, like I'm old. But like looking back, I was so small. Even looking at myself on the videos, I was just, you can see in my face how young I was. And like, I think I was nervous for my audition, but the nerves really hit me when I was side stage just before I was about to walk out. But I think I was subconsciously more nervous than I let myself believe I was. But that's kind of, I'm good at that. I kind of keep my nerves in the subconscious area of my head rather than let it overtake me. So,
well, that's perfect for being a singer, because we have to deal with nerves all the time.
Yeah.
Do you think you've developed some kind of like coping mechanism for that? Is there a way in which you do try and keep them at bay?
Definitely. I have been on stage since I was 7. I think I played my first lead role when I was 7 in one of my stage school shows. And stage school is definitely the way to go if you want to find out to deal with nerves, because I really like I used to get nervous when I was younger, and I still get nervous now for the odd event. It just really depends on what it is and how much pressure I feel when I'm there. But the fact that I was on stage and in characters as well really, really helps, because I find that when you're acting as a character, you can kind of hide yourself away, so you get less nervous. But that also kind of comes into it when you're going out as yourself, because you can kind of believe that you're kind of your stage self rather than your normal self, which is brilliant. Like it's just kind of a way to protect yourself from being completely overcome by nerves.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. I haven't really played that many roles myself, because musical theatre is something that I've always kind of liked the idea of, but then the next recording project has come along, or something like that. But I do know what you're saying, because sometimes I feel like that. It's hard when you're putting yourself out there, especially when you're singing one of your own songs, I feel. I have found it difficult in the past to be authentically myself on stage singing my own music, because then if somebody doesn't like it, it automatically feels more personal.
Yeah, it does, because you've put so much work and so much effort into it, and you just want everyone to love it. Because obviously you love your own work, otherwise you wouldn't put it out. So yeah, I know exactly how you feel.
Yeah, I've over the years though, I have tried to think of it in a different way. I have tried to think, well, take like your favorite singer, it doesn't matter who they are. If you went to see them do an incredible show that was the best show you've ever seen, and you loved it, there's still going to be someone in the world where they go, nah, that's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, and that's completely fine as well. Like obviously not everyone is going to like everything, but it does kind of, you think about what you're putting out more when it's your own, rather than written by or arranged by someone else. I definitely agree with you there.
I think you're right there. I have tried to be more brave with it for the past few years, really, because I kind of think, well, say like you could name anybody, Beyonce, Bocelli, anyone, like so many people love them, but then you're always going to find somebody who doesn't. And I kind of think, well, if somebody can't like Bocelli, like you're never going to please everybody in the world. If that's true.
I know. Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So being so young and being so brave to put yourself out there onto a massive TV show, it's a huge, huge stage to go onto. How did that change your life?
It completely, even my outlook on life after it really completely flipped. So before, I'll tell you from the beginning. So I came home from school one day and we were eating dinner. I remember it so well. We were eating dinner and my mom was like, "So Britain's Got Talent are closing their audition entries tomorrow. Like, do you want to just send one in?" And I was like, "Oh, like it's not gonna happen. Like, it's not. It's just we can, but it's not gonna happen." And she was like, "No, I think we should. We have that video of you singing in your school talent show from last year. Let's send that in." And I was like, "Oh, the school talent show. I no." I was like a moany 14-year-old. But anyway, I was just completely. I was in disbelief that anything would ever come of it. So I was just kind of like, "Oh, is it worth it?" Like, whatever. Eventually, we ended up sending my tape in, and then 3 weeks later, I was again walking out of school, and I got into the car with my mum, and she was like, she just turns to me, and she goes, "Guess who called?" And I literally had the longest day, and she was like, "Guess who called?" And I was like, "What? Who?" And she was like, "Britain's Got Talent." And I was like, "What?" So that's where it all started, and that's when I kind of thought like maybe I have something, because before that I didn't really think. I just thought I'm a singer, like it's such a hard industry, maybe like will never happen. But then that happened, and I was kind of thinking, okay, now I this is my opportunity to really make a career for myself. So I was like so excited instantly. I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this." And yeah, since that day then I kind of started taking my singing career more seriously, and just kind of push myself at every opportunity I have, even through lockdowns with COVID and everything. I just keep working away. No matter what there is, there's always something to work on when you're working for yourself. That's what I believe. So yeah, that's kind of, it really just changed my whole life really. I started getting booked for a lot more events, and just even little things like walking through the airport and people looking at me, I was like, "What?" And I remember once I was on my way to a Justin Bieber concert, but I'd been singing in the Wexford Opera House in Ireland earlier that day at a lunchtime event, and I was on my way up to Justin Bieber. Now I think this was about 2 months, about a month after Britain's Got Talent finished, and we stopped in a garage for my dad to get petrol, and me and my mum got out to get something to eat because it's quite a long drive from Wexford to Dublin. And I got out of the car, and this bus pulled up beside us, okay, like a big bus full of teenagers. I assumed they were going to Justin Bieber. They were all dressed in kind of concert clothes. And I got out of the car, and all of a sudden, these teenagers like walked in behind me. And I was like, I didn't really think much of it. I was just kind of like, "Oh, that's a bit weird. Like, I'm with my parents and there's teenagers." I was only 14. Like, I was embarrassed that I was with my parents. But anyway, I went inside and I heard Leah, and I looked around and I was like, "What?" And I thought someone had. Anyway, I continued walking with my mum, and we went down to whatever food section there was, and then I heard someone say, "Leah," again, and I was like, "What are they calling me?" And mom was like, "I know they're not calling you." And then they said it again, and I turned around and they were like, "You were on Britain's Got Talent." I was like, "What?" This is so weird. I'm literally in a garage in the middle of on a motorway on the way back to Dublin. Calling my name. It was so strange. But even little things like that, and it just they're just so funny. They're funny moments. But yeah, even and it really just did change everything. It kind of changed my whole view on myself and my career. So yeah.
When you say it changed your whole view on yourself and your career, it sounds like it gave you more confidence to pursue that as a career choice.
Yeah, it definitely did. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean when I say that. It gave me that extra drive to kind of say, "You're ready for this." Like something was telling me, someone somewhere was saying Leah's ready. So that kind of gave me that little more, "I'm ready."
That's fantastic. It's such an amazing opportunity, and I love how you completely made the most of that opportunity, and how you
Yeah,
continue to as well, because I
yeah,
think something that you said, truer words have never been spoken. There's always something else to do when you're working for yourself.
yeah. You can never run out of anything to do. I haven't, I've been working the whole way through COVID every single day. I haven't got bored yet, and I'm as busy as I would be if I was doing live events every weekend. So there's always something to do.
I guess that does show that you really enjoy it then, because my next question was going to be, did you always think you were going to be a singer, or did you have other ideas as to what you wanted to do with your life?
So I've always wanted to be a singer since I was very young. Since I could talk, I was singing. And I always just loved it. I really enjoyed it. And I was always the first to get up at family events, or even if my family were down for dinner, I'd be like, "Can I sing you a song? Can I sing you a song?" Wrecking their heads. But so I always wanted to be a singer, but I don't think I really believed that I could be until things kind of start, or even little things like I did a few local talent shows, and even things like that. I won my school talent show, and it kind of just every kind of time you get your confidence, your a little bit of boost in confidence, I think it really helps you believe in yourself more. And that's kind of it it's it's not a great thing to say, because you should really believe in yourself because of the work that you're going to put in and your motivation and everything. But it really does help when someone else is telling you that, or indicating that you're good. So that really helps. And I also think that having your confidence knocked is really important, because otherwise you've nowhere to go. So I think that having both your confidence boosted and knocked is what gets you where you want to be, and that's exactly why I'm here.
I think I'd really like to ask you more about having your confidence knocked. Like,
Yeah.
could you give
Okay.
an example of that as to what you mean?
Yes. So when I was younger, I was in stage school, as I said, and stage school, everyone knows, are competitive, and stage school mothers are competitive. Um, but even shows that I'm talking about, not my actual stage school, but shows that people my age who are all in stage school were doing. So I went for loads of auditions and didn't, nothing came of it, like loads. And I think that happens to most people, to be honest. And I think if it doesn't happen to you, then you're God on earth, because you just don't see how it wouldn't happen to you. But it's one of those things that, well, the way I looked at it was, every time I let myself down in an audition, I came back stronger. I learned from my mistakes, and that really just you build like a second skin, and it just makes you kind of realize what you did wrong. You realize how you understand how you fix it, and you go back and you don't make that mistake again. And I really believe that if you learn from your mistakes, you won't make them again. And that's really important in this industry, I think, because you have to be able to get back up and keep going, because there's so many letdowns. It's literally the name of the game.
Yeah, I do agree with you. The one thing I feel like we should clarify, though, is that you need to know when it's your mistake and when it's nothing to do with you.
Yeah,
So you
that's
need
true
to,
as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's really important to make that difference, because there's so many places in this industry where you are amazing, but you just might not be the right look that they're looking for, and there's nothing you can do about that, and you shouldn't have to do anything about that either.
Yeah, you just take it on the chin and just say, okay, that I wasn't suited for this. This wasn't meant for me. And often, then if so, for example, there's been multiple times where I've gone for an audition or an interview, and they have said, "Oh no, you're not right for this," and I've said, "That's fine." Then 2 months later, I've got booked for something that's so much more suited for me, that I'll enjoy so much more than I would have the other, and it would have clashed. So I would never have been able to do both. So it just, everything works out for a reason. I'm really a firm believer in everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, I like to think like that sometimes as well.
Yeah.
I try and think like that sometimes. But when it comes to auditions and those kinds of things, it takes a lot of confidence to put yourself through that door and put yourself out there to people.
Yeah.
And when somebody does say, no, you're not right for this, it can it can knock that inner confidence that you've got sometimes. If it's not steady, if it's not hard as a rock, it can be knocked. And so I think it's still important to remember that whole thing we were saying earlier about, like, these amazing people are never going to be everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. It's important to remember that.
It is. It's really important. And it's so important to not be too hard on yourself. Like, whenever I'm talking to any young kids who are coming into the business, because we all know how difficult it is, I say to them, do it to all my students, like, that I teach singing and dancing. And if they're ever going for any audition or competition, I say, do it for the constructive feedback, not to win. It's not about winning. You want to grow from this. And if you win, like, you'll grow, but you're going to grow so much more if you get constructive feedback that you can take on, perfect, go back and do it better. And every single time it should be like that. It's like an elastic band, you keep stretching. And I give that advice to all of my students. In fact, my singing students had a competition on Saturday, and I said that to them going in. I said, make sure you do this not to win, to make yourself, to improve your skill. And they all came out brilliant. So
that's fantastic news. That is really good. And I love that bit of advice as well. I really love that, because it's all about making yourself be the best version of yourself. Because when you're the best version of yourself, you can then go into an audition going, well, I am the best version of myself. If they like me, great. If not, it's obviously not right for me. On to the next one. And it won't knock your confidence so much. And
if you take it on and say, there's two different scenarios. There can be the scenario where you just don't fit, and that's completely, there's nothing you can do about that. You don't change yourself to fit a part that isn't made for you. But there's another scenario where you may have made a mistake, you may have been nervous, but you learn from what went wrong. I don't think it went wrong, but that's why I'm doing these quotation marks. I think it's learning curve. It really is, the whole thing. And I'm still learning. I'm sure you're still learning every time you perform or go for an audition or whatever. It's constant learning. I feel like in the music industry, you're never going to know everything. I think you're lying if you say you do.
Oh yeah, 100% agree. Especially when the landscape of the music industry is just constantly changing with
it's forever evolving.
Exactly. And with the amount of opportunities that are available now for independent artists, there's always something else you can be doing, something else you can learn, something else that you can turn your hand to, and you're never going to have time for all of it. But as long as you're enjoying what you're doing, that is what matters, because then you're going to want to wake up every day and carry on doing that thing.
Do it. I can't relate to anything more than that at the moment, because obviously because of COVID, live gigs aren't really happening, and they're all like live streamed and pre-recorded, la-di-da-di-da. But I still make sure that I get up and I start into work, and I find something. So over lockdown, I taught myself I bought a home recording kit, so I can record vocals from home for remote studio sessions and stuff. So I taught myself how to record on that, which was very difficult, might I add. I wasn't expecting it to be so hard, but anyway, I've got the hang of it now. And I taught myself how to. These are only such little simple things, but I found it so difficult at first. I taught myself how to get the vocal from my recording thing, from my recording kit, and put it on a video on iMovie and put the video together. Yay!
Yeah, well done. You should totally celebrate those things, because my fans know that I struggle with technology. I really do. But I try my best every day to be friends with technology, and one day I'm sure it would like to be friends with me too. I've just got to wait.
Yeah. So you have to put in the effort.
Yeah, exactly. So I've also got a home studio set up, and I recorded lots of things during lockdown using that, and I just found that it opens up so many doors. And when that normal saying that everybody's heard, knowledge is power. Well, it's completely true, because as soon as you know how to record your vocals from home, you're opening up another area of the music industry to yourself. You're giving yourself an opportunity.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You're nothing's holding you back, even though you're working from home, which is the best thing ever. Like there was a few live gigs towards the end of lockdown, and then through lockdown 2 in Ireland, because we have had 2. But towards them both, or towards the end of the first one and the second one, where I've recorded a whole live concerts on my equipment that I never ever thought I'd be able to do, and the sound is just so much better. It just makes it really like makes you so much more proud of your work when it's such good quality. And I was actually really impressed with it. Like I'm so glad I got it now. And yeah, no, it really does. It keeps you working as well. Even I'm always up recording, and I would never have been doing that if I hadn't forced myself to learn how. But it was very frustrating at the start. Don't be don't be fooled.
Yeah, no, it is. It totally is. I actually sent a a GIF to some of our mutual friends, Emma Barry, Grace Foley.
Yeah.
I just love them, and I sent a GIF to them of how I felt my learning curve. It just brought my learning curve feelings to life. And it was this woman who looked very excited, started running and going, yeah, I'm going to do this. And instead of going up a curve like this, she ran straight into a brick wall.
That's going to happen though. That has to happen for you to, you have to hit brick walls for yourself to pick yourself back up, and then say, I'm going to go run at it stronger this time, and then hopefully you'll climb up the wall.
Exactly.
Over. Yeah.
Exactly. You'll Spider-Man that wall. You'll get up it.
Yeah. Exactly. You need to come back, pull yourself back, and shoot yourself out again.
Exactly. So that's what we've all been trying to do. Like we've all had to completely pivot this year. And so many things that I thought I'd be doing then went, no, turns out you're not. But it's the same for all of us. But with this recording set up then, do you think that you'll be recording things for release at home?
I have been already, and
Woo!
I've been recording basically the whole time, and even just little things, small releases and big releases, just kind of everything. I really really enjoy just going upstairs, and because I have it set up in my bedroom, I really enjoy just going up and getting my work done. I really enjoy it, and I think that I'm so lucky to be able to say that I genuinely enjoy every part of what I do. Obviously it gets a little bit frustrating sometimes, but I still love it. So and there's very few people who can actually say that they really really love their job. So I do count myself lucky every day.
Yeah, I completely know what you're saying. There are some days where I count myself more lucky than other days, but I do know what you're saying.
At the moment, it's kind of difficult because we aren't getting the same interaction with our audience or with our viewers, and we are over social media, but not in person. And I think it loses that tiny little spark for the viewers. It loses that tiny little spark when they can't come and see you live. But thank God we have technology, because otherwise the arts would have suffered so much more than they did, and they have suffered hugely. And I think it's really disappointing how much we've been affected. But I know loads of industries have been. But it's just when it's your industry, you really feel it more. And I know everyone can say that about their own thing, but it's just I just can't wait to get back on stage and see people and talk to them after the event and just kind of get their reaction, because you really get it. It helps both them and us as performers, because we get the little extra rush of adrenaline, that buzz that kind of makes it, the bug, I call it, me and my dad call it the stage bug, where you just want to keep going back out. I sing in a concert in Trim, which is in Meath, where I live, which is just outside Dublin, for those who don't know. And it's called a classical evening. So obviously everyone goes down and performs classical music, and there's pianists, violinists, singers, choirs, and the amazing thing about it is that we're all local. I think almost everyone is from Meath, so it's really really it's a well-known event. It's brilliant to showcase the talent that we have here, because in my county alone we have such incredible talent. It's ridiculous. We are so blessed with the people that we have living here, because it's such a beautiful night. And my granddad lives in Spain, and he flies home for it. So he loves it. He loves hearing me sing, and he loves that night in particular because it's so nice, and it happens in a cathedral, and it's usually packed. Obviously, we can't do it this year because of COVID, but it's usually packed and everyone's there. My singing teacher comes. She's from Trim herself, so she comes down to see me, and yeah, it's such a beautiful evening. It's really, really nice, really enjoyable, and the best thing is everyone feels like a family member, all of the performers, because we're all from here. We all live beside each other basically, so it's really nice. It's nice community thing, but it's not only known in this community. Do you know what I mean?
That sounds like so much fun, and it's great that your granddad flies all the way over to go and.
I know. He loves hearing me sing. He lives in Spain, so he's often sending me videos like, you should learn this song, and I usually know most of them already and have sang them for him.
I'm sorry, I've got somebody at my door. Okay. Hang on a second.
No problem at all. No problem.
I've got deliveries.
Yay.
Sorry, yeah, no, I'd run out of mouthwash in my room, so they've brought me some of that.
Cool, brilliant.
I was just able to yell down the hall because I can't see anyone. We're not allowed to have any contact at all. So he just went, "Is that all right?" And I went, "Yeah, thank you, she's here."
Isn't that brilliant though, that they just bring it up to you whenever you want? Like, that's lovely.
No, I've waited a few days for this.
Have you? Well then.
I'm gonna enjoy it, I think.
Yeah, do.
For those who are not aware, I feel like I should say that we are recording this from remotely, obviously.
Yeah.
But I'm stuck in a quarantine facility in Taiwan at the moment. So I'm
keeping you company.
You are keeping me company, and I'm grateful. And I'm so glad I finally have these things that I wanted. I mean, it's funny how happy mouthwash can make you when you've run out and you haven't had it for days. I'm excited about this. Sorry about the slight interruptions to the podcast, but we're hopping right back in now because we were talking about Trim, the amazing Christmas concert that you take part in every year that your granddad flies over for. But I know that you've taken part in an incredible Christmas concert in, one of the most famous venues in the world, the Royal Albert Hall.
Yes, I have, and it was absolutely incredible. I remember, I'll never ever forget walking onto the stage for my sound check early in the day. I think it was about 2:00. I walked on stage and I was like, oh, like, no way, this is what I see in the pictures. I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. It feels huge when it's empty, and even bigger when it's full. It's like massive. It's a big semicircle, and the stage is huge, and everything about it is absolutely surreal. Like, it's so cool. I sang as a soloist. I sang one song, "I Wish You Christmas," with the orchestra, and it was absolutely incredible. And I will never ever forget it. It was amazing. Even the backstage and everything. I'd seen pictures of like Captain Jenkins, who's a huge inspiration of mine. Loads of really famous people in the same dressing room as I was in. It was so cool.
Yeah, it's one of the most incredible experiences, that building. And normally what I like to do when I'm performing a show is I like to be able to see the individual audience members, so I really feel like I can make a connection with them. But I found that the Royal Albert Hall was like a sea of people, and you couldn't pick out individual people at all because there were so many of them everywhere.
But at the same time, yeah, there's so many people, but it feels intimate. I don't know what it is. It's massive, but it still feels like there's only a few people in the room. Like, it's really, really, it's so difficult to explain, but it's just something that you have to experience. It's so cool.
Yeah, I've been to concerts there and sung there myself, and there's something so magical about that place. I think the concert that stays with me the most in terms of one that I've watched there as an audience member was Lang Lang, the Chinese pianist. And he was just the most incredible thing I'd ever seen in my whole life, because 5,000 people fit in that space. And there was a song that he played where it was just him on the piano, and so quietly tapping some of the keys in this song. I can't remember what song it was, but it was just a few notes, just him on the piano, and you could have heard a pin drop in the Royal Albert Hall with 5,000 people. And at that moment, it felt incredibly intimate, that concert. And it was the most amazing feeling. I think that's how I can relate to what you've said there, because I've experienced that from an audience member's side. But I've got to say, I think when I was performing there, I didn't feel like it was intimate. I think I felt like it was bloody terrifying. But like...
I have to say, I was nervous when I was there. Obviously, I mentioned earlier that there's certain things I get nervous for. That was definitely one of them. And actually, when I went on stage, okay, this is a horror story now. Okay, so I went on stage and I had practiced with in-ears and they were fine in the sound check. And I went on stage for the actual thing and my in-ears didn't work, so I sang deaf. Like, I could barely hear the orchestra.
Oh no!
And I know, I could barely hear the orchestra, and I was trying to sing, like, not quietly, but kind of like compress my singing because I had to try and hear them. Obviously, thank God it was an orchestra because they could follow me. And I sang that song so many times. I remember practicing for it so much. I sang it probably about 5 times a day coming up to the concert. So it was like muscle memory. So thank God thank God I did that much rehearsal. But it was the scariest thing, and I was nervous going on, but when I stood on the stage I was like even more nervous because I could hear. I was like, when are they going to kick in? Like, when is it going to come on? And I could just hear. I was like, no, that's when I'm coming in now. And I just had to sing deaf, and oh my God, I was petrifying. But at the same time, I think looking out at the audience helped me. Like, it didn't make me more nervous. It actually helped me because I actually saw my auntie and my granddad and my mum and dad over to the side, and I saw kind of individual people who were smiling up at me, and that really kind of helped me. It made me detach from the worry and just made me click back into the performer. So thank God, but it was so scary. And I haven't used in-ear since.
No, absolutely not. Holy moly. I feel I should explain, actually, for people who don't know what in-ears are. In-ears are like headphones that go in your ears, and their full name is in-ear monitors. So when you go to a performance for a band, for example, you've got these black things on the front of the stage, and they are shaped like a wedge, and they're called wedge monitors. And what they do is sorry, Leah, you know this already, but I'm just saying it's for people who don't know.
It's okay, sorry, I
know. They project what the band needs to hear at the band so that they can hear everything they need to hear to be able to perform. So let's pare it down. If you're on a stage and you're singing to a backing track, basically you've got your voice in the backing track being played at you from this wedge monitor that is on the front of the stage pointing up at you, and that's how you can hear what you're supposed to be doing. So with in-ear monitors, it just takes the bulk off the front of the stage because they're all in your ear, and then normally the sound technician will program your in-ear monitors so that you can hear everything that you need to hear in the levels that you need to hear it. So normally singers want maybe more piano or a bit more of their voice so that they can definitely hear everything that they're doing, and so the look of horror that came on my face when Leah was telling her horror story there was because that just meant that if her in-ear monitors were not working and they were not stage monitors, it means you're singing without being able to hear anything. So singing
including
yourself. Yeah, exactly. So you had to walk out on stage in front of 5,000 people and then sing when you could hear nothing.
Yeah, and the only thing I could really hear was my vibration from my mouth and a tiny little bit of orchestra. That's literally it. I was very scary, and especially because I had really like built myself up. I was like, I'm doing this, and then I got on stage and it didn't work. I was like, oh my God, plan out the window. But it was fine in the end. I really just, I found something in me said, right, detach from the problem and get on with it, and that's what I did. So
you are so professional. Holy moly. Fair play to you, being so young and so professional. Because when was this?
I was 15 at the time. It was 2017. I just turned 15.
15?
Yeah.
Oh, and having to cope with A horror story like that in the Royal Albert Hall, one of the most prestigious venues in the world, and having to sing when you can't hear anything. That is just
Yeah.
completely ridiculous. I feel so
It,
sorry for you. And I am so impressed with how you handled it.
thank you. Yeah, no, it was pretty scary, but like I said, we move on. Life moves on.
That's it. Oh my gosh, though, that is crazy. I just, oh my goodness. What did you say afterwards? Did the sound guys like know that there was a problem, or what happened?
I I said it to the sound guy when I got off stage, and he said, "Was there?" Like I was like, "Yeah, I couldn't hear myself." But it was fine. They were apologetic and everything, so it was completely fine. And I wasn't. I think I wasn't actually annoyed or anything. I was just a bit like, oh, they didn't work. I just I was like, but I was so overtaken by the view that I had and the people that I had in front of me, and the fact that I was on the stage in the Royal Albert Hall with a live orchestra behind me and 5,000 people in front of me. And I really only realized how scary it was when I got back to the hotel afterwards. I was like, wait, did I just do that? And I even forgot to tell my mum straight away. Because I was, it's like the shock of being, it's so hard to describe. It's like when you come off stage and you're so absorbed by what happened on stage, the good bits, that you kind of forget the bad bits until later on, and then you realize, oh my god, that happened. So when I was on stage, it really only affected the first 10-15 seconds of my performance, and then I just said, right, this is your chance. This might be the only time you ever sing here. Hopefully not, but it might be. So stop. You're going to get on with it, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do it well. So yeah, it was scary, but it was fine.
So professional of you. I'm so, so, so impressed. And I'm guessing your mum was none the wiser, because I'm guessing your performance was bang on anyway with the muscle memory, and you've been practicing so much. And the fact that it sounds like she hadn't noticed if you hadn't like mentioned it till later.
She hadn't noticed. No one noticed. My granddad, my auntie, my dad, my mum, my brother. The only thing that my mum said when I said it to her, that there was, I couldn't hear myself. I said it to her while we were in the venue, after a good while after I'd been off stage, because I was kind of talking to people. You know, when you get off stage, you're getting your mic off, you're going to the sound man. But the thing that was so scary was that when I was on stage, I couldn't take my in-ears out, because otherwise I'd just pop them out. But I couldn't do that because I had a mic, like a headset, and the headset went on over the in-ear. So I knew if I pulled my in-ear, I'd pull the headset and then my mic would fall off. So I couldn't even, because my mum said to me, you know what, you looked a little bit more nervous than you usually do. And I said, yeah, because I couldn't hear. And she said, would you not have pulled the ear out? And I said, ma'am, I was going to, but if I did that, I would have, my mic would have been on. I would have been holding my mic like this, little headset. So it was like everything it was like it was set up. Not that it was set up. It was like that. It was meant to go wrong for me to learn from the experience. Do you know what I mean?
Goodness me.
Yeah, it was scary. It was scary, but it was also really cool. So the amazing experience, definitely, that's just a little blip. I don't really even think about that anymore. The main thing was it was such a cool experience, and yeah, I'll never forget it for the good. I don't even think that happening, I don't even consider it a bad thing. Do you know what I mean? It's like something that I learned. I mean, I sang deaf, so I can sing. I can sing. I kind of said, like, I came back and did a concert the next night in Ireland, and I said, right, well, I don't be nervous. Like, I was like, why are you even getting the slightest bit nervous for this? You literally sang deaf last night. You're going to do this and you're going to do it well. So you really do learn. It gives you, again, it's the whole thing going back to when something happens, you learn from it. You take it, you build on it, you learn from it, and you move on, and you use that in the future. And it actually really benefited me that happened, because I dealt with it on the spot. I didn't know it was going to happen, and it just proved to me that yes, things go wrong on stage. No, it doesn't really matter as long as you don't let the audience know that it happened. And I still use that advice that I gave myself every day, every time I walk on stage.
That's completely incredible, because like your parents and your family are going to be the ones that know when something is wrong more than anybody else. So the fact that they didn't even really notice anything
No.
is absolutely incredible. It's so professional dealing with that. And then I can understand the power that it would give you, because you go, well, I've dealt with that now, and that's probably one of the most horrendous horror stories I have heard. From anyone in the music industry, and the fact that you dealt with that, I mean, like, really, you can go and do anything and now and go, well, I sang with those circumstances in the Royal Albert Hall, I can do anything. Like, it must give you that feeling of immense power to go, I can cope with anything now.
It's again, it's something I just looked at the positive. I said, I can do this. If I can do it deaf, I can do it anytime. It just gave me that little extra bit of confidence or something. It just, now I have been definitely scared. I think I've used in-ears, if only once, if I have even used them since. And I'm definitely scared of using them. I'd much prefer, I think, I find personally that in-ears, obviously you need them in a place like the Royal Albert Hall because it's so huge. But personally, I think in kind of more intimate, when I say intimate, smaller venues, I much prefer wedge monitors, because you feel so much more, you feel in the room with your audience, and I think that is so important. And even while you're chatting to them in between your songs, and like whatever throughout your show, you get to kind of hear, if they talk back to you, you can hear, whereas if not, you can, it's more personal or something. It's so much better for me personally. I don't know if that came from what happened, but I think I kind of felt like that anyway. Obviously used in-ears on Britain's Got Talent, not for the audition, but for my semi-final, and that was the first time I'd ever used them. So the Royal Albert Hall was the second time I'd ever used in-ears. So it felt like strange at first, having my track so loud in my ear, but then as I started working in studio and stuff, because I hadn't really done a lot of studio work at that stage, you kind of get used to it, because they're like on your, it's the same thing through your headphones. So yeah, but I do prefer events where I don't have to wear in-ears. Obviously I will, there's no problem, but it's just nicer, it's more personal,
Yeah.
I find.
I completely agree with you. I like to be able to hear the audience. I like to feel like I'm more in the room with them, because a lot of in-ears, I feel I should also explain, you can get them molded to your ear. So it's not like you're wearing earplugs. They are far superior at cancelling out any noise than earplugs are, because they are hard plastic molded to your ears. So if you can imagine having earplugs in and headphones on top and sticking your fingers in your ears all at the same time, that's kind of what it's like. That's what you had to cope with at the Royal Albert Hall, not being able to hear anything, which is crazy. So it is, you do feel like, I feel like if I can't hear the audience when I'm singing, there is more of a barrier there, and I don't like that. I like to really look into the audience's eyes, hear everything that they're doing, and the expression, and you feel so much more connected. So I completely agree. I much prefer wedge monitors on the front of the stage, not in-ear monitors, and to feel like you're more in the room with your audience. But you're right, sometimes it's necessary to use in-ears, and I think a lot of rock bands tend to use them as well, because the music's just so loud. If they have to cope with that every night, they're going to start losing their hearing, and it's just not healthy. So they're good from that point of view as well, because of the amount of noise that they cut out. But I'm surprised you're still happy to use them and you haven't been put off them for life.
Well, I'll use them. I'll use them when it's needed. But if I had the option, if it was like, do you want to, I'd say no, because again, like you said there, I like looking at an audience member and smiling at them and seeing them smile back. And I feel like even though you can still see, obviously, it's hard to explain. It's kind of in between the songs where it affects me mostly, I find. And even during the songs as well, it really just kind of, it puts like a glass screen in front of you in the audience, like you're separated. And even though but it doesn't really feel like that when you're in a large room, because you wouldn't be able to hear the audience individually, or even like anyway. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like but it does kind of, in smaller events, it definitely does put a little barrier, and that's it's just I much prefer being able to feel like I'm completely connected with my audience, and I think that's the most important thing. And it also obviously helps the audience's enjoyment of your show as well, because they feel connected, and that's what makes them like you.
Yeah, well, it is when you feel that connection with a singer that's on the stage or an artist that's on the stage, and you enable. I love it when I make it feel like it's just me and the listener. You know, it's just me and them. And I love that feeling, because then that's when you make real connections with people. And it's great that music allows you to forge those connections with people. But I really want to talk more about your music and what you see happening for your music this year moving forward, because I know you've put out some singles, but you said you've been recording from home. So I want to hear more about where that could be leading us.
Okay. So I've released 3 singles in the last 12 months. I released my first Every Time, which was a classical crossover version of Britney Spears' song Every Time. And I released that in November 2019. And that was incredible. I loved that song. I have loved that song since I was so young. I actually 99% of the songs that I learned, obviously bar my classical songs, like my musical theatre songs and my general kind of pop da 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 da. Most of them came from Glee. I was obsessed with Glee when I was younger. I watched every season, and I've watched it about 4 times now, like the whole way through. And every time I actually first heard on Glee, or was it? Yeah, I think I first heard it. Oh no, sorry. I used to listen to it in the car with my mum and dad when it first came out, in 2004-ish, I think. But or was it 2000? Anyway, when I was younger, I used to listen to it in the car with my mum and dad, and then I kind of forgot about it. I used to love it. I used to know all the words and everything. Then I kind of forgot about it, and then I watched Glee and I heard it again, and I was like, oh my goodness, that's that song. I love it. So basically I think I watched that particular episode of Glee when I was about 10. So I was never ever thinking of doing, like, recording it and changing it. And I remember distinctively going shopping with my mum one day and it coming on the radio again. And my mum said, oh, that'd be really nice for you, but you could change it a bit. Obviously, neither of us had any idea of the music industry at that stage. I was literally just a stage girl kid who sang songs. That was really it. I sang songs to backing tracks I found on YouTube. So when I was approached by my producer Mark Cahill to produce with him, I was like, definitely. There wasn't a doubt in my mind that I wanted to start with that song. And I don't know what it is about it, but it just is absolutely gorgeous. And I love the I love that bit. It just gives me shivers. I love the music. And so obviously I had to make it my own, and I put my classical spin on it. And I still to this day love it. The music video we recorded, it was absolutely insane. The videographer was Liam Geddes, and he is absolutely so talented. I used him for my second video as well. And it was so cool. Like it was just an amazing experience actually going and recording a music video to your own song. And it was just incredible. And then I released my second single, Fix You, in September, just gone, September 2020. And again, absolutely amazing. I first heard that song on Glee also, and obviously had to change it. So I put my classical spin on it. Fix You is a cover of Coldplay's Fix You. And yeah, it ended up amazing. I love both of them so much. And then again, we did the video. It was really, really cool. And the video, so for those who haven't seen it, at the end of the video, I walk through. Sorry, let's start at the beginning. At the beginning of the video, I learned to row a boat so I could row into the middle of a lake in a dress and row back for the beginning of the video. Then at the end of the video, we have loads of like little tea lights hanging from like trees and stuff. And me, my mum and my dad made the little, we went to IKEA and we bought like something like 300 jars. And actually, and the lighting man did some as well, and his daughter. But we got like hundreds of jars and got like wire, tied it around it, and hung them from the tree. So it took hours. So when I was recording the other parts of the video, my mum, my dad, and my brother, and the lighting guy and his two children were, oh, they're not children, but his two kids were hanging lights, hundreds of lights from a terraced area and a tree. So it really, it looks all glam, but when your fingers are raw from electrical wire, going like this with electrical wire around glasses for the 5 days beforehand, it's not so glam when you think of all the work that goes into it, but it looks absolutely incredible. And I was so happy with how it turned out. So that was brilliant. And then my third single that I released was Oh Holy Night, which I released in aid of Deborah Ireland, which is a charity that helps the families and sufferers of EB, which is a really painful skin disease. So the skin blisters to the touch, and I have a personal connection with the charity because my drama teacher brother's two children unfortunately passed away from the disease. And seeing as I had done charity concerts in the past, obviously this year I couldn't, and I said I want to release a single and I want to do it for Deborah Ireland, because I just think that the work they do is incredible. And I saw a young girl on the Late Late Show, which is a really big TV show in Ireland. I think it was a few months ago, and she had EB, and it really just broke my heart. So I really, really wanted to help in any way I could. And seeing as I couldn't hold a charity concert, I said I want to do this. So we did it, and we released it in December, and it's doing really well. So everyone seems to like it.
That's completely amazing. I mean, such a heartbreaking story, and amazing what you've done. I think what we're going to have to do is make sure we've got the links to all these videos in the description section below, and we'll also have to put a link to Deborah Ireland as well, so that if people want to go and contribute and check out their work, then they can. So we'll make sure that's all in the description below. But that sounds absolutely amazing what you've been able to achieve with those singles. So I'm wondering what's coming up next.
Okay, so I'm hoping to release my next single in spring. Obviously I'll have a few projects to upload between now and then, not big ones, just kind of small ones that I've done myself over lockdown and stuff. But I have hopefully my next single in spring, and then in the long term, I'm hoping for an album sometime soon. So yeah, it's very exciting. So yeah, I'm still working away. I'm always busy at something, always doing something. So yeah, I'd expect lots. And I have also just recorded a new Irish musical called Most Peculiar Dreams, which is written by a man called Fergus Foran, and I am the lead in that. So I've just recorded that too. So that's hopefully going to come out soon. I think they're releasing it. So.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Absolutely incredible. You've been keeping yourself so busy. And I think what we're going to have to do is when you're getting ready to release your album or this musical, for example, you'll have to come back on the podcast and tell us more about it, so that we can all go and see it and hear it. I think that would be really important. Well, Leah, thank you so much for giving us so much of your time and for coming on to the Mary-Jess Meets podcast. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you. You're just so mature and professional for your age. I'm really impressed, and I think everybody else will be as well. And I can't wait to hear more from you. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me on. I was absolutely delighted to come on and talk to you. Thank you.
Well, I'll speak to you again soon, and I'll look forward to that. So I'm wishing you a wonderful day wherever you are, and thank you so much again for joining us, everyone who is listening in. So thank you very much to everyone's listening in, and thank you so much, Leah, as well.
Thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you. Bye, Leah.
Bye.